CAIR lies. Here are only 3 examples of CAIR's lying. CAIR defamed a sitting judge to influence a legal decision.
Faizan Azizan is pleading for mercy in the back of a Sandy Springs cop car after officers arrested him for disorderly conduct.
The whole time I was just like in a state of shock and crying.
The Iranian political refugee fled torture in his home country and was experiencing PTSD. According to this transcript of the hearing we obtained, after Azizan told City Judge Sharon Dickson he was an Iranian political refugee, she unloaded on him, saying, quote, "I know where you came from. Women don't mean anything. You need to go to jail. You are despicable to me."
What the media described as bigotry was actually the judge's disgust with Faisal Azizan's disregard for other people. He almost killed his Uber passenger, Ms. Thurman. The judge prompted him 3 times to apologize to Mrs. Thurman, but he couldn't do it. The broadcast never mentions Mrs. Thurman, and despite having won a favorable decision for their client on appeal, and Dickson stepping down from the bench to take a lower-paying job in another city, CAIR stalked her there and demanded her resignation.
Yeah, Jovita, this week Sandy Springs leaders appointed their municipal judges, and Sharon Dickson was no longer among them. There's now a push for Dunwoody to push her off the bench here, too.
I was attacked based on my region, based on my nationality.
After our story aired, the city agreed to overturn the sentence, and last week Dickson sent an email to the mayor asking him not to consider her for another term. Now, the Council on American Islamic Relations of Georgia has sent a letter to the city of Dunwoody demanding they remove Dickson from the bench here, but a spokeswoman for the city told us at this point they have no plans to do so.
They lied about the court transcript, and on the basis of those lies, they called for a judge's resignation. At about the same time this was going on, something similar was happening near San Diego in the city of El Cajon, where CAIR claimed to have video evidence of the most
severe case of bullying in the existence of their organization, with 8 to 10.
Students began to harass, shout slurs, slap, and beat Sidra.
Representatives for the 14-year-old girl say the principal of Greenfield Middle School needs to be fired for the lack of action taken.
The superintendent for the Cajon Valley Union School District was kicked out of this morning's news conference, which he said he attended to support Sidra and her family.
Sorry, say that again?
We're asking our officers.
Okay, I'm here because I care.
School officials were escorted away from the news conference.
An account of what happened that day.
I was unable to do anything but attempt to close the door. However, they kept forcefully pushing our outer door until eventually it broke. And they again attacked my wife. I have videos evidencing the attack.
Our attendance reporter Allison Ash is live in El Cajon. So Allison, when will we get a chance to see that video is the question?
Well, that is the big question right now. Early today, CAIR said that its attorneys were going over that video. They were going to release it probably as early as this afternoon. Well, that just didn't happen. We also reached out to the sheriff's department. We wanted to get a copy of that report from that March 20th attack. They told us it was not available to us at this time.
CAIR says there are several videos of the incident, but they're waiting for clearance from their lawyers before releasing them.
CAIR San Diego says it received a report that the student had been targeted and even received a video of the alleged attack.
El Cajon family releases new video of an alleged bullying incident at Greenfield Middle School.
You touched her face! You have no right! You have no right!
We've seen videos of children being beaten. And then that's spread on social media, and our community deserves better.
Cell phone video shows an example of what the group says Vice Principal Gregory Calvert failed to prevent. A girl who is a Syrian refugee was followed home by a pack of middle schoolers.
However, I caught up with El Cajon School Superintendent David Miyashiro, and during our phone conversation, he said that the video was recorded at someone's residence and has no connection to the school. Could the real reason CAIR was still calling for Principal Calvert's termination weeks after this information became known be because Calvert threw CAIR out of his
I went
office?
to the principal and they reported it, and it was met with indifference and an unwelcoming, blank face. He just had nothing to say to them. Even when we became involved, Principal Calvert threw myself and Sundus, my colleague, out of the principal's office. You terminate Principal or Vice Principal Gregory Calvert from his position because of the extreme lack of caring of the safety of the children, the safety of the staff, and the safety of the teachers and the administrators.
I think that's bullying, and it's really inappropriate for an advocacy group to make such comments.
CAIR lied about the video, and it was on the basis of this lie that they called for the resignation of a middle school principal. Back to where we began, Georgia, this time Augusta, where CAIR is suing Sharon White for religious discrimination.
Council on American Islamic Relations held a press conference to discuss what she says happened and explain the steps moving forward.
CAIR does their quirky press conference where they never discuss their evidence in any detail.
We're really talking about one person, the owner of this company.
Instead, they engage in gossip and slander Sharon White as a bigot.
The one thing I want to say, to Mr. White in particular, if he's listening, is that people make mistakes. Right? People make mistakes. People can have latent biases and bigotry. I often joke that if I was not a Muslim and I didn't have any Muslim friends and all I knew about Islam was what I saw on the evening news at night, I might dislike Muslims too, right? And so I don't hate on people who have bigotry. I want to educate them. And so I think for Mr. White, this is an opportunity for him to get educated about what American Muslims are really like. It's an opportunity for him to apologize and to make amends with this young woman. We are willing to do that. We've reached out to him in the past to do that, and we hope that he will take our extended hand and that we'll be able to resolve this peacefully and quietly and privately to the extent that we can. But sometimes you have a case that is so clear, so egregious, so provable, and it's backed up by someone who was brave enough to come forward and tell the public what she experienced, willing to put herself on the line to make sure no one else experiences this sort of discrimination down the line. And that is Lacey Nicholson. The other thing I want to note on top of that is that a lot of these cases are he said, she said. This is not one of those cases. This is a case where Lacey was actually smart enough. After the conversation with Mr. White happened, when she was pulled in for another meeting with a manager after that, she recorded that conversation. And in that conversation, that manager, the second manager, not the owner, but that manager apologized to Lacey about what, and really in an indirect way, he says, I apologize for you getting upset, which is not a genuine apology. I apologize that you got upset. But this manager references what Sharon White did, but Lacey had not told this manager about it yet, meaning this manager learned about it from either Sharon or someone else. So this audio recording is proof that that initial conversation with Mr. White absolutely happened. And there are also emails following up after that. I think Mr. White sends an email where he kind of tries to clean up the mess afterwards. HR, so we have emails and this audio conversation that do give rise to the fact that this indeed happened. It's not simply a he said, she said. It's a she said, and she's got some evidence to back it up.
They're the coworkers too.
And other coworkers have told, were the ones who kind of warned Lacey of what she was experiencing and why she was experiencing.
Is the real reason they don't show us the timesheet or audio recording because CAIR has nothing? We will never know because no one will ever question CAIR. Instead, CAIR gets on TV, says anything about anybody and has them fired or threatens their livelihood. Since when does a civil rights organization tell lies to get people fired? This is not a civil rights organization. This is something else. This is the Council on American Islamic Relations.